Hello, and welcome to Parenting Differently. When we leave behind that old way of parenting and allow the gift of parenthood to raise us. Different to how we were raised, different to how society keeps telling us to raise our kids, maybe even different than we expected. Just different. I'm your host, Anja Simmons, a trained British nanny, a yogi, a speaker, an author. And I want to welcome you to Parenting Differently, because when I came to parenting, I thought it would be easy. And I was surprised how deep and entwined we were. And also all the learning that I did along the way, a lot of healing and a lot of deep diving into who I really was. And it was this gift that parenting really woke up in me. Super excited you're here. Please subscribe, please share, please get the word out that this Parenting Differently is a must if we wish to change society. It is the catalyst for change when we start in our parenting and healing and uncovering more of who we are. Let's leave the kids alone. Let's do our work. So welcome, and I'm super excited for my guest today. His name is Harvey Laguerre, and he is the half of Love is Black podcast with his wife, Karese. And a very interesting journey we're going to uncover today. He has his BA and an associate degree in legal studies and has chosen to be a full-time dad. And we're going to dive right into that as soon as we can with Harvey Laguerre. Thank you. So welcome, Harvey. Welcome. I'm so happy to have you here on Parenting Differently.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, awesome. So let's dive in. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are and who you're parenting and any of your parenting journey you wish to share?
Okay. Well, I'm Harvey, 46, stay-at-home dad, and originally not by choice, but
Mm-hmm.
situation dictated it. So
Okay.
I'm a father of four kids, three daughters, one son.
Ooh.
Two of the kids my wife had in a previous relationship. The last two we
Mm-hmm.
had together. Um, I am Haitian. My parents both were born in Haiti.
Okay.
Very patriarchal society. Very much husband, dad goes out there, makes the money, mom stays at home, that type of thing. So that's kind of how I was raised.
Okay.
So what I'm doing is completely different from what's expected. So that's my journey has been. I had a job, I got fired. Hey, the kids are here and one of us can raise them and take care of them. And we decided, who
Mm-hmm.
better than dad to be
Right.
there for them when they wake up, when they come back from school, life in general.
Wow.
That's it.
Yeah. That is
Mhm.
so cool. And what are you uncovering, having sort of, I guess at first this wasn't the choice.
Right.
Originally, it was because of the loss of the job, and then it sort of, I guess, fit. So what were you uncovering about yourself in the journey of transitioning from, I guess, working full time to
Right.
fathering full time?
What I can say is that I never liked the idea of like childcare or I don't, to me, it feels like there should really be only two people raising kids. And
Okay.
that's kind of colored by the fact that when I got home from school growing up, my mom was home.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a parent there. And I think I grew up with that. And I liked that idea.
Okay.
So then when it came time for me to lose I lost my job. It happens to all of us. And I was looking for a while, but while that was going on, I'm at home
Mm-hmm.
and I'm up and I'm making the kids lunch and I'm walking them to the bus stop and I'm there for teacher conferences and I'm there when they're struggling with school and I'm there when they scrape their knee and I'm there helping them with homework. And this is what I should be doing. I
Ah.
love my kids, and to me, taking care of my kids and being there for them is
Mm-hmm.
what I should be doing. So
Right.
it hit me pretty quickly that this is what my job is supposed to
Perfect.
be.
Wow.
So that's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of, I'm trying to think in terms of change. What I've learned, for me,
Yeah.
I when you first are with your kids and maybe you're not with them as much, you have a lot of patience because you see them occasionally and then you're there and they bug you, whatever. I'm around my kids all the time. So because of that, I could tell that I'm not as patient as I used to be. And
Right.
one thing as a parent, not even just as a father, we have to recognize that our mental health, we're dealing with our kids and kids are children and they'll just do
Full on. Full
annoying
on.
things. And you're a human being and I love my kids, but sometimes I'm just like, shut up, stop, or whatever. Don't do that. I told you not.
Yeah.
And you have to recognize the effect your kids will have on you. So that's one thing is that I have to understand that my kids aren't doing what they're doing on purpose. They're
Right.
kids. It's in their nature. I did it to my parents.
Right.
It's the same thing. So I'm definitely a better parent because
Right.
I'm learning every day and I'm trying to do the best that I can with my kids.
Excellent. Excellent. And what do you think then they are maybe teaching you in, this full-timeness of being a dad? But, in you've got four, so you've got four fully different personalities. So I'm wondering what lessons have come your way?
That's a good question. So I have a son, my oldest, he's 17.
Okay.
So dealing with a growing boy
Mm-hmm.
and dealing with a boy versus dealing with girls is different. And unfortunately, we just have preconceived notions of how we're supposed to raise a boy versus how we're supposed to raise girls.
Okay. Yeah.
So originally I saw the way that I would treat my son versus how I would treat the girls.
Mm-hmm.
My father wasn't the warmest. I mean, he's not gone or anything, but I didn't get the hugs and all that.
Right.
My son is an incredibly emotional. He's a touchy-feely. He loves hugs. He loves all that. And at first it was really strange. I'm not used to that.
Yes.
So I had to work on that. I have to work, and I still have to. It's still a struggle for me because he'll come and he'll hug and he'll just stay. And I have to work on appreciating the hug and stuff like that.
I love it.
So that's one thing. My oldest daughter, 15, teenager, mouth, just likes to talk, is just, and it's everybody. And I think you really covered it at the beginning. I have 4 different personalities.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to recognize that the way I talk to my son doesn't work the way I talk with my 6-year-old, my youngest.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You have to juggle personalities. My second daughter, Sienna, she's 11 going on 30. She's a teen, not even a teen yet, but you would swear she's a teen.
Right.
And she loves TikTok and she loves doing all this fun stuff, but she's really sensitive. Mm-hmm. So all it takes is a little bit of a cross look for me, or if I say something and there's a little bit more of a tone to it, she gets affected a lot more than the other 2. Mm-hmm. So I have to watch how I talk to her. It's really a juggling act being a parent, and we're not perfect. We'll make a mistake, but recognition and, awareness of how we treat our kids is maybe the most important thing that I've gained raising my 4 kids.
That is so powerful though, Harvey. That really is. This, it sounds to me, which is just my language, of you're meeting them where they're at. So although you have, obviously from how you're growing up, as you were saying before, and how a man's role, and then you've got this gorgeous 17-year-old who, has his own way of doing life, and that you've been open to it and accepting of it. It sounds weird to say accepting of it, but because that's not your natural state,
right,
guy to guy, right, that you're able to say, hey, this is what he needs, and this is what, and the change has to be you, not him.
Exactly.
That's like really powerful.
So true. The last thing we need to do is make him or any child feel uncomfortable about being who they are. Mm-hmm. So just kind of go with it. And one thing I know is that if I didn't change, if I didn't kind of work with him in about 15 years, when he doesn't want to hug me like this, I'm going to be like, wow, you know how many hugs I missed? how many of those so I appreciate
such introspection.
That my son, who's taller than me, big boy, if he wants to hug me, I'm going to take it. It may feel a little weird, but I'm taking it now because I'm not going to get these forever. Yeah. So I appreciate them being children while nurturing them and preparing them for the future. And I can say, as a Black male, my Black son, that's a big deal.
Right.
We have a lot of perceptions about Black males in general. So that's another thing. The fact that he's so emotional is not typical of Black males.
Right.
So I don't want to take that out of him. I want to nurture that. Do that. If you're going to end up with a woman or something in a relationship, I think you're going to find somebody who loves the fact that you will hug her all day, hang out with her all day, that you're going to be all up under her. I don't want to take that from him. I just want to control it. This is what you do. Recognize parameters that you don't cross with other people. That's the one difference between raising a son versus raising the girls. I'm preparing him to step out into the world and how you perceive and how you act. Right. So that relationship with him is special. And he's my only son, and obviously as fathers, we love that. There's something special about having a son.
Right.
So I'm
right.
trying to mold him in my, but I I do as much as I can. But he's such a good kid, and I'm just there to kind of lead him in the right direction. Just push him back when he stumbles or when he falls off the path. But just he's a good kid in the making, and that's what I'm there to do.
Yeah. And actually, reminded me that I remember with my son when he was younger, as he got older, I realized that we weren't actually hugging him as much, or we weren't having any physical contact anymore. And I realized that that's such a integral part of, not in his face, but that I would rub his back, or
Right.
he would be happy to sit near me, or sometimes he would lay his head on my lap. And it was one that my husband and I would talk about, saying, hey, we got to make sure we're still staying connected here. With his, obviously if he doesn't want it, that's a different matter, but he did want it still. And it was so much easier and natural for me to be hugging on my daughter. And so the work was ours to say, hey, we 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old and up, they still want connection.
Right.
Right. So I really appreciate that.
Oh no. And again, it's a work in progress. It really is something. I'm not used to it. So I really had to work on that. I love hugs from my wife, of course. What husband or male doesn't? And my daughters, it was natural because they'll do that. They'll just jump up and hug you, and you're like, that's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But to get it from you, so it's not only you working on him, but it's really working on me too, to accept that kind of intimacy with your child.
Yeah.
I'm definitely better for it. And I think he is too, because it helps him. He's 17, he's going to venture into the world soon, confidence, things like this. He shouldn't feel like, his family, his father or his mother is against that.
Yeah.
He's being enveloped with love. And that's what I'm trying to maintain.
Beautiful. And also he needs to fully feel, I mean, anybody needs to really feel this, that they are just accepted in who they are.
Exactly.
So some are more, I mean, even with, I just have two, a son and a daughter, but they're very different personalities. And so the acceptance doesn't have to be on my level, right? It doesn't have to be on my comfort level or my preconceived ideas, I remember the other side of trying to force my son to play with a doll. It was ridiculous. He couldn't care less. He had no interest. But I was like, oh no, we need to be very modern, and you have a baby doll. I mean, he's 23 now. But you have a baby doll and all of these things. And then it was sort of really like, wow, if I'm meeting him where he's at, what are his interests? What is he interested? What makes him excited or shines? And, a baby was not it. And nor was my daughter, actually. Neither did she particularly like the baby doll. So it was really more just a case of diving deeper into me thinking just by showing up with a baby, you're going to make him more compassionate, more empathetic, more realizing his role in society. No, right? That's all in my head.
Yeah, it's not you, because we want it to be deep. But when it comes to a kid, it's not. It's, I don't know, I'm a 14-year-old or I'm a 10-year-old boy. Yeah, I like this action figure. I don't like this doll. And it's not because I'm a boy. It's because I just don't like it.
Yeah.
And I feel like at times we're trying to push, politically correct, and these dolls are for anybody type of thing. If they're for anybody, then he'll find it if he likes it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make you like it. And that's what it is. And with him, he's a typical boy. He likes video games. That's
right.
It. His PlayStation, his, Xbox, whatever, and leave him be. And that's it. And so he fits certain stereotypes. But
sure. And what do you think then, Harvey, too? What else are you doing differently to how you were raised? Were you raised in Haiti or?
No, I was raised here. So I was born here. So obviously my culture came with my parents.
Right.
So
right.
I'm trying to think. Another thing, actually a big thing, and it's not just Haitian, it's probably Caribbean in general, is just corporal punishment, spanking. And I grew up, I got spanked. That's what happened. I think I'm a pretty good person. It worked out. I'm not particularly a fan of it. So it's not something that I aim to do. It might be a threat. Listen, do that, whatever. But I'll talk a big game, but I'm probably not going to do it. And it's just, I don't think it's something that should be done. The violence, that kind of violence probably doesn't hinder whatever action the child's going to do. If anything, they're scared of me. And I don't want my kids to be scared of that. So that's one action
That's a big
that
one
they
to
can
make that
to not
choice.
do
Yeah.
that. And it's a big one. And I won't say there's certain situations and their kids were probably a spanking. Had I done it, I would have been spanked for it.
Right.
But you got to find other ways to discipline your children, other ways for them to understand what they've done. So that's a big one. Not spanking. I'm not gonna put my slap on the butt or something, nothing, but nothing
Yeah.
major, nothing big. So that's a big decision. That makes
Definitely. And I think it's in not to debate spanking or not debate spanking, but it's if we really want to be conscious in our parenting and we really want to be this catalyst for change, and what better way than raising little people,
Mhm.
those are the decisions in there that you sort of you have to step back a little bit, don't you, to have the conversation. Okay, what is the end goal here? If
Right.
for anything that you choose to do, do you want connection? Do you want a relationship? Do you want to be that's because it's such, for me, the old way of parenting is that top down, right? I'm the boss, you listen to me. And
Yeah.
we're missing so much because they're so flippin' wise, these little people. They can have a say in their lives. We're not saying that everything all flows, which is what everybody worries that, oh, we're going to spoil them. No, none. How do you spoil somebody if you're really in a deep connection with somebody?
Agreed.
Right? But
Agreed.
I also think when people sort of go, oh, I shout and I get angry, and we all do. I'm a Leo, I'm a big shouter, right? But in the bigger picture, how would I feel if I had that on me every time I made a bit of a mistake or a big mistake, and then it was just so negative? Does that make me grow? Right? Does that make me feel better? Does that make me choose to do it differently? I don't think so. I don't think that's the solution.
That's good. And I mean, I can say in my journey as being a better parent, I'm guilty of that. I've got 4 kids who I'm with all the time. There's going to be times when I yell about things. What I think is important is one, the kids recognize that we're not perfect.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And as long as, so if I yell for some reason, if I'm just wrong for whatever, and I make a conscious effort, I know I'm wrong, it happens, I'm going to let them know that I know. I'm
Right.
sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I didn't understand the situation. I shouldn't have yelled at you. That, I think, builds a relationship. A kid
Very
who
healing.
recognizes that that adult understands that they're not right all the time and they apologize to you. Like they're making it clear this was wrong and you were right. Kids, it sticks. Kids like hearing that because
Yeah.
they're not wrong all the time. And at the same time, we are the boss. There's just a different way
Yeah.
of leading the kids. I can be this terrible boss, yelling, whatever, or I can kind of be in your childhood with you,
Yeah.
just leading you in the right direction because I've been there before. And
Right.
sometimes I'm going to communicate with you in a different way. But if as long as I'm doing it in a language or in a tone that they understand, they can only get better as children and just humans in general.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, that's the gift of giving, of going forward, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Having that, yeah, and definitely, I think this perfection is ridiculous. Like I've never met anybody who has reached it, so I'm assuming it's not reachable in this lifetime, right? And so, but you can always being vulnerable, being like you're being so vulnerable when you say I messed up, and
Mm-hmm.
that's hard for many people, right?
Yes.
Yet for our children, I mean, I remember thinking my parents were just perfect people,
Right.
right? And you would give you, I didn't know about struggles, I didn't know about their battles, I didn't know about things other than, and then this was said and this is what you follow, and then suddenly I guess it's like knowing about Santa.
Mm-hmm.
Oh dear, not allowed to say that, but it's this, like it's a shock to you when you realize your parents are actually just normal people trying their best, hopefully trying their best, and figuring it out as you go along. And every day is different, right? You're very aware of that. 4 kids, right? Every day you think you got something handled, and the next day you're like, damn, I never even thought of that approach or that.
Every day, every single day. Every day.
It's exhausting, but
Mm-hmm.
it's showing real life. Why does it have to be a pretense? And like you say, we know better for some things, but I can't really say I know better for you,
Right.
right?
Right.
I can give you my guidance. I can give you some of my takes, but I have to filter it already,
Right.
right? Before I go boom, give you all my fears. But yeah, I'm going to also raise you that I trust that you're going to make right decisions for you.
Exactly. And it's what's important is that we need to be comfortable with how we're raising our kids, how we're parenting them. You get to a certain point, you can only do so much.
Yeah.
Then you get to a point where you're just putting them out into the world, and hopefully how you raise them will be reflected in how they act
Yeah.
outside.
Mm-hmm.
So I can tell you how to do things. I can show you. It's really important to come in terms of my son. I'm
Right.
chivalrous. I always have been. So,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna open the door for my wife, or I'm gonna always let the girls go in first. And when he has, we're dominated in this house because it's six of us.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. I've been kind of getting it into him, drilling it into him, ladies first and stuff like that. So he's gotten to the point where he'll open the door and let the four ladies in first. And it's just constant. And
Right.
a person. And if I mess up and I didn't do it, I'll say something. It's good. I really like the idea of kind of growing, because I'm a more fully formed human being than any of my kids are,
Sure.
but I'm not a fully formed parent.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh, that's a lovely way to say it. Yeah.
when I'm parenting my kids, I'm gonna make mistakes,
Right.
and they'll see it, and incomprehension is important. They'll recognize I'm trying,
Yeah,
good
I think
intention,
that's
maybe
huge.
it didn't
Yeah.
work the right way. But
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's a full-time job that it's ups and downs, but if you've done it properly, you'll see a good effect later on when they hit the world. So
Beautiful. And then if I say from your opinion, because your lovely wife's not here, but how do you have you figured out strategies on how to cope with differences in how you would parent? Do you have any wisdom to share there?
wisdom, give me you know what? Elaborate on that. What do you mean?
Yeah, okay, so differences in how you would parent to how she would parent. So say somebody she just would be coming from a different approach to you. Maybe
Okay.
certain things don't bother her and they bother you, or vice
Right.
versa. Like, does that make sense?
Oh no, no, definitely, and definitely and with this house now, because I'm in it primarily, and then she
Right.
comes home. Yeah, she'll deal with things. I mean, the dynamic in our house now is because I'm kind of the no dad. They'll ask for stuff, and a lot of times they kind of assume a no. So mom comes home. If I step out of the room, can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this? They know how to act, and that used to annoy me so much.
Right.
Aggravating. I was going to say no. Let me ask the other person. Maybe I'll
Yeah,
get the
yeah,
yes
yeah,
from her.
yeah,
I
yeah. They
hate
know us. They know us well, right?
and they're smart, and it still bugs me. But what I've come to recognize is that they're kids. As upset as I can be about things, I have to recognize who I'm dealing with.
It's kind of smart,
So,
yeah.
so and there are times when I just get annoyed. It's a long day. I get up at 5 something to get my first daughter to the bus. It's a long day. When they
Yeah.
come back, they just bring back all that kind of drama and such. What I've learned is that there are times where I just gotta step out. I need
Mm,
like 2 minutes.
yeah.
They're doing something that's bothering me. I've told them countless times, don't do that. I'm gonna go over there for a minute so that
Mm,
I don't explode, so that I don't yell, so that I don't like scar them because I'm so upset about something. Sometimes you just need to step out of the situation
I love it. Give
and
yourself that
calm.
time out,
Right.
right? I'm taking a time out.
Yes, exactly. And especially with our kids. I don't want to do that. Yelling is going to happen. It is what it is. But I want, when it's done, you understand why. Do you
Mm,
comprehend why I was upset about the situation? Do you understand why this could have been dangerous or just not good for you or people around you?
yeah.
So once you recognize, and it's dealing with every kid differently. Some
Hmm.
kid I got to catch right there and I got to explain it and over talk situations. Some
Right.
kids like, listen, that was bad. You could hurt yourself, and they get it.
Right.
So
Love it.
recognizing who I'm talking to and
Hmm.
recognizing where I am at that moment is really important. So
Yeah.
I've learned a lot about me
Yeah.
dealing with things. Definitely.
Awesome. Okay. Okay. And what do you think has been, you've sort of gone over lots of things, but the hardest part of being a dad?
Thought my situation isn't typical in that while I have 4 kids, 2 of them aren't biologically mine.
Hmm.
So when I met my son, he was 4 and he knew his biological father, but he is pretty much not in the picture.
Okay.
And his younger sister, 2, when I met her. We
Hmm.
connected real quick, whatever. The hardest part about being a parent in this situation
Hmm.
is that I can only be so much of dad with those 2. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Hmm.
I'm dad for the other 2. My first 2 call me Harvey. My 2 call me dad.
Ah, got it.
So there's this whole kind of juggling act that my 2, they know, the older 2, they know, but there's a
Hmm.
little something in the back of their mind that he's not really dad, that type of thing. So
That's
that's a
hard.
struggle and that always will be for me, because I want to be dad 100%,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm
Mm-hmm.
really 90% dad.
Yeah.
So that's been the hard thing, because
Makes
only
sense.
so much discipline or kind of guidance that I feel I can give, because I'm not really the biological parent. There's another
Mm-hmm.
person who, while he's not active, he's still out there.
Right.
So
Right.
that's difficult.
That makes sense.
And it's a concerted effort to treat them all the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I think I've always done that. But because those two don't treat me the same, that's what's weird. Because the
Right.
other two see it and they understand it. So for me, it's just kind of this, I don't know. I don't know. It's a kind of jealousy thing. I want all four of them to see me. It's always a little weird for me, our first two, to refer to me by my first name.
Right.
So just me just getting past those little things, because that's superficial. The real stuff is what I'm doing day to day. I'm here.
That's going to be the
That's
take
the
into the world stuff.
right. So that um the hardest part about being a dad
Mm-hmm.
is how we are perceived.
Okay. Let's
That's
talk
what
about
it is.
that. Yeah.
That is my, and I think I kind of mentioned this, once I decided I'm staying home, like my mom is like, what? You're home? Oh, when are you gonna get back to work? I'm not. I'm gonna raise your kids. And it's just these little comments, oh, Harvey's gonna get back to work. No, I'm not. My wife is working. She's making money. We're here. We're good. I'm here. And that annoyed me so much. Why am I less? Why should I be expected to get out?
Hell yeah. Yeah.
I'm just as good as mom. I'm a parent. I'm a presence
Yeah.
in their lives. I'm not helping raise them. It's these little comments when you talk about fathers, babysitting, or, he's going to be there to help. I'm not helping anybody.
Yeah.
These are my kids. So that the perception that I'm just like an assistant
Right.
to a mother as opposed to a parent, just like she is. And that's just, I got the chip on the shoulder about that.
No, but I hear you. I think that's a great point to raise. That would be hard. That you feel like you're constantly. I'm assuming you feel like you're constantly having to justify, having to make more, as opposed to as a mum being home, they wouldn't have the same as so much the society saying, hey,
the expectations are different. I'm surprising. Oh, dad, yes, dad, parent, father, full time, all the time. I'm here, and you need to accept it. I'm just as much as a man who goes out and works.
Doesn't change your manhood. Yeah,
that's not a question for me. When my kids go out into the world and they're safe and they're respectful and they're good human beings, there's nothing more manly to me than my kids representing that in the world. And I'll take that.
That's a big mic drop moment. That is exactly what you just said there. Wow, that is powerful. Really powerful. Nothing more manly than raising good
those are my
people.
kids. I'm throwing them out into the world. That's my vision. Yeah. And so somebody sees my son and they see how he reacts to people. He came from a good household. Or see how my daughters, how they act. Yeah. That they came from a good place. That's me. There's nothing more representative than how my children act in the world, in society. Mm-hmm. Well, I take that as a job, but I take pride in that. I can send my kids out, and they're kids, but they're respectful, intelligent, worldly. They understand the world, and that's because I help them see it. Yeah. So there's nothing I like better. My kids go out, people are like, oh, they're so well behaved. I'm like, you haven't seen them at home. Restaurant, they're amazing, but get them in the house. Come look at this room that hasn't been cleaned in 2 weeks. Or look at the kitchen.
No, Harvey, you're supposed to go. Yeah, they are. Thank you.
I say yes, but in the back of my mind, I'm like,
I know, yeah. Reality is.
When I'm walking into the house, when I'm done with this, when we're done talking, I got cleaning up to do because they just leave a mess. That's just what kids do. But in general, that's superficial. And their insides, their emotions, their everything. When they step outside, Harvey and Karese, they did a good job with this.
Yeah, you two did. You two really did. That's like awesome. So the very last question, when you think back to your first time being a dad, from your son to the second set, what wisdom would you give to yourself as a young dad that you now know that you would have been sort of pretty powerful had you have heard it earlier on?
I'm going to give you a little bit of a story here. So my our third child, but my first, Sienna, who's 11 now, I was there. When I found out my wife was pregnant, I was at every appointment. We were there all the way through. I was there. I was the first person she saw when she was born. And it was such a great moment. It's when you're a dad and you see your child coming along, there's nothing better. And I know that's, everybody says that and it's cliche, but it really is.
No, it's real.
After that, for 6 months, she would not deal with me. She hated me for 6 months. She wouldn't let me feed her. I couldn't hold her. It was torture.
Yeah.
That's my child. I saw you come in. I was there. I was holding you. And now she doesn't like me. And it was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And it's because, she was breastfed and she loved mom. And that's just kind of something. It wasn't personal, but
no.
I took it so personally. Oh my God, you're my child. Why?
Daddy heart, right?
Exactly. What did I do? Why? I mean, the perfect example is I took leave after she was born and I was home and my wife was there. She'd be up in the middle of the night feeding her and whatever, but she needed to just get out. So she drove to Washington to pick up her mom or do something and come back. I was home with an infant, Sienna, and she wouldn't let me feed her. Oh. My wife was gone for about 6 hours. She cried the entire time. Oh. She would not let me. I'm sitting there and I'm like, I've got your food. It's right.
I love you.
And I love you and I'm holding you and we're good. And not until her mom came back would she eat. And I just, once mom, Karese was, and she came home and she just saw me just like, oh my God, what did I do? I mean, I've been here. So I think if there's anything I would tell myself now,
right,
you have to recognize it's their kids and you have to understand everything that they say, they act, they do. It's not a personal thing. No. It's their kids. And for the first 6 months, she was all about mom. And it wasn't because she didn't like me. It's just that
she wouldn't have liked anybody else. Yeah.
That's what Karese's response is. Oh, it wasn't just you. She liked anybody. Yeah. But my response is, well, I'm not anybody.
Yeah.
You don't put me with her aunt. I'm also, you're supposed to like me. Don't say, oh, she didn't like some person who visited. I'm dad. So I recognize a lot of the actions, whether they're a baby or whether they're 10, 12, now.
Right.
A lot of how they act are responses to situations that a kid who probably doesn't know how to really communicate, that's just what they do.
Right.
And when you understand that, you don't take it as personal. You understand.
Good wisdom.
As a human being, as a parent, as a dad, sometimes kids are going to say some stuff that you didn't want to hear.
Oh, yeah.
But as long as you understand it's not because of you, it's because they're kids, that you don't take it as bad. So that was a big one for me because that took me a while to get past. Like I couldn't but she wouldn't let me. Oh, it was so hurtful. Oh. But it was rough. But now we're tight.
Right.
Obviously all my kids, but with her, that connection, I think subconsciously, I really appreciate that bond I have with her because it took so long to get there.
Because of the rough start. Yeah.
But she's more like me than anybody else. She loves music like I do. We listen to the same thing, and she's an 80s music fan like I.
Oh, right.
Like, what is this? And she'll listen to me and such. So that I recognize that you get past the rough spots and recognize that they're kids and everything is a lot easier. And that would have made it a lot easier for me if I understood that.
You understood that. Yeah. Wow. That's powerful. That's powerful. Well, Harvey, thank you so very much. Wow. What a joy. I'm so excited to meet you and to share you with the world on parenting differently, because I think your take on everything is, really, really powerful.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. It was fun talking about these kids who are about to show up in, let's say, probably like a half hour. They're coming home.
They're coming home. Okay, awesome. And for all the viewers and listeners, all of Harvey's details will be below. You'll be able to find him. And the podcast is called?
It is the Love is Black podcast.
The Love is Black podcast.
Yeah.
So check it out. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You're welcome.